Hello and welcome to Unleashed. I'm your host, Will Bachman, and I'm excited to be here today with Lisa Carlin, who is the founder of Future Builders Group. You can find him at futurebuildersgroup.com. Lisa, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here, Will.
So, Lisa, tell us a bit about Future Builders Group. And in particular, I know you have a paid membership model, and I think that would be interesting to dive into for our members to kind of talk about a kind of second, more passive income stream. To the extent it is passive, running a community is a lot of work. But tell us about your membership.
Great. So I've been consulting for my whole career, and after my early background with McKinsey in the US and Accenture in South Africa, I set up my own firm in 1999. And as you know, Will, and all other independents out there, can get kind of lonely. So 11 years ago, we formed Future Builders Group, which is actually a virtual group. It's a banner for a whole bunch of independent consultants who focus on organizational development and strategy execution. So carried on doing that with some amazing colleagues over the years, and we've done some fun stuff in execution. And then I got to the point in the last year or two where I was sort of looking for something else to do, and sort of wanted that next step in reach, in being able to get out there and spread what I've learned. I've done now over 50 of these strategy execution projects or programs. And the way I describe it is it's sort of at the center of three disciplines. So business strategy, project management, and change management. So my work is at the center of all of those. And then I draw another ring around all of that and say, well, it's all dependent on the culture. So you got to change each of those, the whole focus of the business, the execution messages around, link it to the business strategy, but focus that around what's important to the culture. Same with the change management, same with project management. I can go into more depth if you want to. So, but really that's how you achieve that kind of influence at scale, and that's what we've developed over the years. That's my core expertise. So I come across all these folks who are functional experts. So they're like finance managers, IT managers, from all different disciplines. HR, and some of them are really good technically, and they don't know how to they're always doing these projects on top of their day jobs, right? And they've never been taught project management. They would never go to a project management course, because why should they? They're a finance manager or whatever it is they specialize in, operations manager, and they don't do change management, and yet they've got to do all these projects, and that no one's ever taught them how to develop a strategy and how to go about executing it. So this is what this membership is for. I've taken all the frameworks and the techniques that I've used and turned them into these playbooks, and then invited folks to join. It's $99 a month. And we've got a really interesting group of people. So it's been I've got a whole lot of learnings I'm happy to share with you, but that's what it is. So it's called the Turbocharge Hub. It's just about to go out with its own new website called theturbochargers.com. That's not up and running yet. And I meet with the folks on Zoom twice a month, and every month's a different theme. And happy to talk to you about any of the aspects you think would be interesting to folks.
Well, you said you have some lessons learned to share. Why don't we start with those?
Okay, so I think I thought it would be easier than it is, Will. So my biggest lesson, I guess, is that it's been really hard, and I think why it's been so hard is that as a consultant, sort of we learn these broad problem-solving skills, and then we know that we can solve lots of different problems. And so I always teach my clients good strategies about choice, and yet don't want to take my own medicine, because it means saying no to some folks. And so I've kind of launched it with this broad proposition to execute strategy faster and better, which I know, this is what it does, and use AI tools and understand culture and teach all these problem-solving skills for people that will future-proof them. But what I haven't yet done is really honed in on exactly what that persona looks like. And I'm still learning, because as people join, I'm learning about them and what it is that their biggest pain points are that we're solving for. And this enables me then to go back out to the market and say, well, actually, this is the key message. Yeah. And I think that would be a lesson I would give folks who are building memberships. It's an amazing opportunity to, so that's probably the biggest number one, is to really be really clear on your ideal customer profile and choose. Yeah.
Okay. So be clear on your ideal customer. And it sounds like in your case, it's not so much, people who came from a background like you did at a global consulting firm, but people who are, internal, doing some kind of internal project management where they are grew up as a functional expert, and now they're being asked to do some kind of cross-functional project leadership, and they didn't get trained in that. So you're creating a community for that segment, it sounds like. Tell us a little bit about what it's been like on the recruiting side, to get people to sign up for something like this. Do you have are you advertising on LinkedIn? Are you reaching out to people with connection requests and then asking them to join? Do they just hear about it from friends and neighbors? Like, how are people? It sounds like a non-trivial task to get people to sign up, even for $99 a month. How do you get people to sign up for that?
Well, I've launched a massive marketing campaign, and I started by basically doing a DIY crash course in marketing, reading all the digital marketing things I could get my hands on, and to really understand what sales funnels look like and what makes them successful, and how to build a brand, because I've never done that. Because the work's always come to us over the years. Your clients leave to go to another company and they call you, and so much of the work's been referral based, or almost all of it really. Have a few coffees and you shake the tree a little bit, and it comes out. But this, like you say, you need a broader reputation. So I guess, and part of this is my lesson number two. Is it B2C or is it B2B? And I went B2C initially because I wanted to set it up as an automated, a more automated way to get as many people as possible to learn this approach, because I know it works. And people, you've got all this amazing material, Will, like these amazing playbooks that you provide free, fantastic resources. And folks who have a MBB kind of background, or even a Big Four background, would know what to do with those, because we taught how to use frameworks. But generally, people out there, these folks that you're talking about, like that we're talking about, that are functional experts in businesses, and some of them are fractional executives as well. They aren't taught a consulting problem-solving toolkit. They aren't taught how to run projects. So they don't really have those skills naturally, and don't really understand the nuances of how to use frameworks in an engaging way. And so they're all of these people, and I've got to figure out how to reach them, right? So what I started doing is I do a lot of podcasts, so being on a guest of podcasts. So I signed up an agency to put me out there on podcasts. I've been signing up to do conferences, so a lot of work in getting my name out there. Also have a lead generation machine set up on LinkedIn that I'm still learning about, and I'm happy to talk about the tech stack that I use if you want later. And that's been very effective at growing my LinkedIn profile and growing inquiries, and that's where I get After initially it was a lot of meetings with people that I knew, and people that I knew would sign up. And a lot of it was a bit of a leap of faith, to be honest, because they didn't know what they were really going to get, but they kind of liked me and trusted me and thought, oh, I want to learn from Lisa. Our next phase of people that are now signing up are people who hear me on a podcast and then they'll sign up. Or, I'll be at a conference and my email, I check my email and it pings, I've got, somebody who's signed up. So it's the most amazing feeling when people who don't know you start actually signing up and are prepared to pay something for you. So that's very exciting. And then, people on LinkedIn who have seen my content and are starting to join, and that's very exciting as well. That's mostly the digital side, and then I've learned, I've never really created a lot of content in terms of articles and that sort of thing. So I've had to learn about, hone in my writing skills. I've set up a newsletter. That's the other thing I've done. So that's grown in the last 17 months to, we've got 7,300 people now, mostly these sort of cohort of business leaders. But on one end, it's CEOs of medium to large organizations, and then I've also got a whole lot of entrepreneurs or people who are just very entrepreneurial. There's a strong innovation flair. People who want to innovate and get things done at scale are really the audience. So now I find myself in a very interesting situation. I'm still the solopreneur, remembering that Future Builders is a banner like a virtual organization. So still the solopreneur, and I've got a consulting business, I've got a membership business, and I've got a newsletter business.
Let's talk about each one of these. So for the podcast agency, could you tell us a little bit about, if you don't mind sharing, like how much do they charge, how many podcasts do you get on, and what sort of results have you received from that? If you're on, how many people will reach out to you or check out your firm after being on a podcast?
It's very hard to get a one-to-one correlation between them. And the only times that I can really track it back to a specific podcast is where members have joined, is where they've sent me something, or I've asked them, how have you found me? That's more likely and they'll tell me, they heard me on a podcast. The agency I paid about 3,000 Aussie dollars to, and they signed me up. They contracted with me to do 10 podcasts. So they would develop a podcast profile for me. That's what they did. They researched who parameters I gave them. I said a lot of the focus is on the US market. So because it's a nice, big, and sophisticated, mature market, which is really what I need for this offer. These are, it's a sophisticated sell. It's a sophisticated offer. So I gave them the geographic focus and the types of people that I would like to reach. And they agreed to not only arrange the podcast for me, but also the one that offer me, I could choose, ultimately, if I didn't want to take the ones that they offered, I could decline and give them some guidance around what I was looking for. And then they would do 2 clips for me. They would take out 2 clips. And then I've posted those clips. So I've got a VA who's working in Kenya. I grew up in South Africa originally, so I do like supporting folks in Africa. It's actually, there's some amazing people who are educated well, speak good English, and charge very reasonable rates that you can get anywhere between, it can range from $5 to $15 US an hour. So it's pretty good for some really well qualified people. And so we put and she helps me put those podcasts because it's just a time, it's very time consuming. So take the clips and put them onto LinkedIn as native content because that's what LinkedIn likes, and then produce it as a YouTube clip for my YouTube channel, which is still very much in early stage. So that's what got me the initial 10. And then, of course, a lot of it is then word of mouth, and people hear me talk and ask me if I'd go on the podcasts, or I just reach out to the ones that sound interesting, like yourself, Will. You're always asking good questions.
So, and on those podcasts to try to help drive direct response, do you give like a special offer? Hey, for listeners of this audience of this podcast, I have a special discount code, and that way you could kind of trace it back to that show. Do anything like that?
Yeah, I've never done that. I've priced the subscription purposefully quite low, so people get quite a lot for that. And so I haven't really looked at discounting it. But what I am doing is I'm interested in taking on some folks who want to be affiliates and take the software that I use to run the whole business, the newsletter, the e-learning hub, and the funnels software and workflow automation has an affiliate link that I can generate. So I'd be very interested if some consultants want to get involved and work with me on this and distribute this to share the benefits, because my mission is to get this out there. I believe that that people need to think about strategy execution when they develop strategy, not afterwards. And so, and I really want to get this message out there, and I want to get out the way that people think they only need to learn culture to change it. People all talk about culture change. Everything you read is about culture change. But what people, really need to think about is that you need to understand culture to navigate it, not just to change it. And so there's some really important things around adjusting the approach to culture. I want to get all this message out, is what I'm trying to say. So I will very happily share in the revenue with people who are interested in partnering with me, because that's what I would love to do. I haven't there's a whole B2B play here around offering memberships to groups in organizations, to people like your clients, Will, that I haven't even scratched the surface of that.
And how many subscribers do you have right now, or members, paying monthly members?
Yeah, we have a cohort of about 40 people. Some of them are my clients, so and some are colleagues that are involved, and some are paying. And and my goal was 1,000 within the first year. So I've just clicked over the first year now, and I'm nowhere near the goal yet. But I love doing this, and I think. And the feedback from people has been amazing. Like people say to me, "Oh, it's joining the dots for me. Now I understand how to do these things." Or they'll just amazing feedback from people. They'll say things like, "I really didn't understand. I thought that the project could stand on its own benefits. I really did not think like." So there are people like take a finance person who just sees a clear cost benefit case, right? So clear to them. And they think that that's all they need, is to present the cost benefit, that it's so obvious because it's the right thing to do for the business that everyone will just take it up and no problem. So it's exciting when people get these ahas. Yeah.
So walk me through the digital funnel. So you're on a podcast, and you mentioned your website, I suppose. Where do you direct people to go, and then what do they sign up and then start getting a newsletter, and then so there's probably some funnel of people who are just interested in what you have to say, and then they get a newsletter, I imagine, and they get some lead magnet or some resource, and eventually how do they end up being paying members? Do you have to have a one-on-one conversation with each person before they do it? Is it self
No,
pay?
it's all self sign up.
So
So
walk me through the whole
okay. So what happens is I have this amazing software. I'm happy to share. It's called Techmatics, and it's based on a system called Lead Connector, which some folks may have heard of, which is like Russell Brunson's salesfunnels.com, a little bit like that. But it's much broader, and it also incorporates the education platform. So it's got the newsletter and the education platform and the ability to charge and to build in all these work funnels all in one and
I'm
set up.
sorry, this is called
It's called
Techmatic.
Techmatics. I've got an affiliate link and I'll pop that into your show notes if you want, so people can get a trial. So it's Tekmatix. It started by an Australian entrepreneur called Sarah Cordner, who's got this amazing academy for edupreneurs, so entrepreneurs interested in education, which a lot of them are consultants and coaches, sort of selling their own IP. So anyone who goes into my system immediately gets my newsletter until they unsubscribe. How do we get people into the system? I send them at the moment, to my old website, my Future Builders website. So futurebuildersgroup.com/turbocharge. You go to the turbocharge page, click join now, and you signed up and you get immediate access into the hub. The hub is it's basically an education product with a whole lot of modules. So each one comes up as a tile on your screen, and you have instant access to all the different so foundational modules on culture and setting up projects and all of that. And then every month is a different module so each module's got a playbook full of playbooks. Playbook full of frameworks. They've got a 1 hour compressed masterclass that contains everything they need to know on the topic. And then we do every month a group coaching session. So they get access to the hub. They can go back to all the previous modules are all on there. We've got about 12 of them now. And so they can take them all in their own time. Everything's recorded, or they can then participate live from now onwards to all the sessions. So that's what they do. So in terms of going back to the funnel, they land up on that page and then can click join now. I started experimenting with a whole lot of emails in sequence, which is what most people do with sales funnels, right? You buy a lead, you download a lead magnet. So I've got one on AI, for example, and then it immediately puts you into a sequence of emails to try and sell you something and upsell you. And I experimented with that for a while, and I realized, Will, that it's not my style. It's not my style. As a consultant, we aren't, we aren't used to selling, like, besides ourselves. We don't like selling. It feels icky. It just feels like it's not natural for us. So I wrote all this stuff in a very softened sort of way, in my own style, in my own not pushy, type of style. I just decided after a few months, I'm going to turn it off. I don't want that, because people are getting my newsletter every week. So I don't need to put them into a funnel. And the research on funnels have been a bit mixed. So, there's research called what's it called? Forget the funnel. That funnels don't work. There's a whole controversy on funnels. So instead of doing it as a formal, 10-step email process, people sign up to my newsletter, and if something resonates with them, they click and they decide they want to join.
Okay, so people get on your newsletter, and then each newsletter will say, hey, if you want to join this community, it's $99 a month, click here, something like that. And then they can go to your turbocharge page and sign up. That's interesting. Do you have any kind of intermediate step like, hey, if you want to come to a trial, event, live event or something, so there's some way for people to taste or test the experience of being in your community?
So that's an interesting question. I have a money back guarantee. So I thought, look, $99 is not a huge amount to ask from people. And if within 14 days they don't like their first session, don't like the material, they've had access to everything, they can just ask for their money back. But I haven't had anybody do that because I think that the $99 is still that hurdle that they don't really want to pay, give their credit card and try something if they're not sure. So I have started providing the option every now and again. I'll promote a free session, an open session that people can come to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, so it sounds like the conversion rate so far has been 7,000 plus people on a newsletter converting to about 40 people in the community, paid monthly subscribers. So that kind of sets people's expectations for listeners of this is this is non-trivial, right? That's a little less than that's a 0.5% of
Yeah,
people
that's
who,
optimistic.
right? People who have,
Right.
so to get to your 1,000 subscribers, let's see, doing the math, we'd say times what? Times 100, times 200. So you need a big number, right, of subscribers to get there,
Yeah.
like 20 times more. So a couple 100,000
Yeah.
subscribers, right?
Yeah, or you iterate the product, and of course those 40 are a mixture of people that know me as well. So that's why it's not it's probably lower than that.
Oh, okay. Even though, right. Because so some of
Yeah,
the 40 are people who you did a personnel sell to. So the
yeah.
idea of getting someone who doesn't really know you, and like, how do you think about, you want to give some value in the newsletter, otherwise people aren't going to open and read it. So you need to be giving enough value in the newsletter to get people to open it, but then promise there's going to be this incremental extra value from signing up for the paid membership, right?
Yeah, that's not the hard part because I'm getting really solid open rates of 41, 42% somewhere around there, which is pretty decent. And the value of what's in the newsletter, I get loads of lovely feedback and comments, and that's great. But that value would be like 1%, 5%, something really low of the whole universe of content that I've got on the hub. I mean, that's a tiny fraction of it,
Yeah.
but it's enough for people to be opening it every week. So, I mean, the challenge for me, I love writing it. So I write each one as handwritten because I just love doing it. And the challenge is actually having enough weeks to have space for all this content that I'm producing and these ideas that I
Tell us
sometimes wake
about
up.
Tell me
Yeah.
about conferences. So you say that you've been getting yourself booked at conferences. That's something that I'm interested in. I think listeners are interested in. Tell us about that process. How do you identify conferences where you might be a good potential speaker? How have you, what's that process like of getting signed up as a speaker? Do you reach out to the organizer and say, I'd like to be a speaker? How does that work?
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. And I think it's a bit hit or miss whether they accept you. So when you know somebody there, that helps hugely. We had a lovely conference in Sydney that I've spoken at for the last 2 years. That's attended by a few hundred people, and that's been fantastic. Rethink change. But the biggest, if people are in a very defined niche, that's a bit easier. Like if you're in change management, then you can go and research all the change management conferences. But my field is sort of cuts across 4 areas, so it's five really. So it's strategy, it's project management, it's change management, it's culture, and it's also AI. So, there's different, I guess, the mixture of topics and conferences, but the narrower people can be, the easier it is to pitch what you want. and it's a fantastic experience, and just lovely to do. And when I share some of my material, then I also get quite a good uplift in folks that are subscribing. So I highly encourage it. The other thing is you get these mastermind groups. So I regularly do speaking circuits of, so you go talk to like 15 CEOs at a time, for example. So they're local organizations that people would have where they meet in person, these different mastermind groups. And that's it's not as big as a conference. So that's quite a nice way of starting to build up reputation, which is what I'm doing now. And then people post on it. So some of it's been online, like we have something called the CEO Institute here in Australia. And then somebody else sees it, and then they ask me if I'll come and talk to their group of CFOs or entrepreneurs or whatever. So that's been quite an exciting process, actually, Will, and meeting really interesting people. And
No,
then when you present to them, that's where some of the work comes from as well, right? Because they'll ask me to come back and talk to their team or run a session or a workshop or something like that.
now for those functional areas that you talked about, like strategy, project management, culture, tell us about, are the conferences on those topics normally what I see kind of actual industry players, executives, seems that they tend to go to more of an industry conference. Okay, it's the auto industry conference or it's the waste management, conference that those, that players will go to, a VP of strategy or, a CEO or VP of product or something, right?
Yeah,
Like
both,
a,
both.
a,
Yeah.
a conference on like project, you've spoken at a conference like on strategy or on project management. Tell us about that kind of an event and who is typically going to a conference on project management.
Oh, project management, there's a whole industry of association of project management. So there's a whole lot of tech, uh, tech vendors and folks like that, as well as service providers. So I'm still fairly new in conferences, but I think you're right that there are a lot that are industry focused rather than so there's some associations who are interested in a particular functional area. So you got all these overlays of like marketing associations and finance associations, and there are these project management / transformation institutes and organizations, right? But then cutting that sort of horizontal, and then you've got your verticals of just the industry groupings. But because I do a lot of work in the technology industry, and I particularly find the education industry interesting, professional services, but I haven't attended any of those either as a attendee or as a speaker because it's I'm being typically very industry agnostic. So so I haven't
So,
haven't done those.
so tell us a little bit more about the types of places that you have spoken at. So you mentioned local mastermind groups for CEOs, that kind of thing. Would that
Yeah.
be sort of a YPO sort of a organization or
Yeah,
uh,
they're different to the ones in Australia. But it could be something like that. Yeah. And there are loads of those kinds of YPO type mastermind groups. If you Google them, I've got a whole list of those. And yeah.
so there's so
And they're all looking for interesting speakers. So that's yeah.
so
Have
there's
have you done any of that sort of thing, Will? Is that your
not really. No, not really. I mean, I haven't tried to explore going after those sort of CEO leader mastermind group kind of things, but that's an interesting area to explore. So some of those have there been other kind of conferences type things that you've spoken at?
um those are the main ones.
Okay.
I've applied for South by Southwest, and I did that on the very last day it was open. So there's one in Australia. So I've yet to see whether I've got a spot there yet or not.
Oh, well, good luck on that.
Thank you. It's funny because it was just the last day, so I had to corral all the people I knew to vote for me because it's a voting, and it was just one day out of what was probably about a month of voting. So we'll see.
Um, um, you said the third thing you said is you have a lead generation machine. Tell us about that. You said you could talked about
Yeah.
podcasting, see conferences, lead generation machine.
Yeah. One other thing I should just mention on conferences is you get some pretty nifty virtual conferences. So I spoke at something called the Spark Festival. These are all Australian, so they're not going to be, people won't know the names. But that's like for the tech industry and innovation industry, people that are, yeah. So there will be all those kinds of it crosses, it crosses a number of areas, but there's going to be people have just got to research and find what they're interested in. There's so many of these sorts of interesting things going on, and it's quite easy if you're a virtual speaker to get a spot on those. So back to the lead funnel. What specific aspect of that, Will, shall I?
So
Are you
beyond
interested?
the just raising awareness with your podcast and raising awareness with your speaking at these groups, how have you got to 7,000 subscribers on your newsletter? Where did those people come from? Did you reach out to them directly? Is it from your content on LinkedIn or advertisements, or how did you get to 7,000 newsletter subscribers?
Well, it's interesting because I know that if you have all these folks on your followers on LinkedIn, it's a bit of a problem being dependent on the platform, right? Because one never knows whether the platform is always going to be there. And when we post, there's no guarantee that everybody in your network really, they're unlikely to all see your post because it will die after a day or two. So for me, it's always been important to have the people on, have their email addresses and
Sure.
have a direct relationship with them. So I just wanted to say that. So I've got a really good tool called Skylead. And again, I'll give you an affiliate link for that one because it's amazing software. Have you come across that one at all?
No, tell us, what is Skylead?
I know you've been doing some research with some folks about what are some different good LinkedIn and automation tools. I looked at a few of them, and this one seemed to be the most sophisticated because what it can do is, I've tried a few. What it can do that's better than any of the others is it can target a group of people that have commented or liked a post. So I'll give you an example that you might get a kick out of, Will. Grab that here. So I went into I've been experimenting, right? This is all experimental, and I'm still learning. But using Skylead, I looked at one of your posts where you posted out a free project ebook. That was a really good one. You got a massive reaction to that. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I thought people that are interested in project ebooks are probably going to be the kind of folks that that would be interested in the Turbocharge Hub. So I set up a direct outreach campaign to anyone who had responded to your post, who I had not connected with before. And what would you say the average acceptance rate of a LinkedIn connection request is these days?
I think if
20,
you're do, I think if you're doing above 20,
25?
yeah, I think if you're doing above 20%, you're doing pretty well.
Okay, so I'll give you the stats here. 72% accepted of your people that had commented or liked your post accepted my outreach.
Now, these were connection requests that you sent?
Yeah, that was the connection requests. Then I sent what you can do with Skylead is you can You can send it out in 3 different ways. So you can send a direct email if they can infer your email from either your LinkedIn account directly or from where you work. Or they can send you a direct connection request, or you can just do a LinkedIn in-mail message. So I had a 50% open rate on those emails and a 36% response rate to the in-mails.
Wow, that's very good. Now, how many connection requests did you send?
Have a look here. I got 72% accepted, which was 211.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
What do you mind? What was the message that you included in that connection request? Because that's extraordinarily high connection request acceptance.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
very
that's
good.
why I like Skylead. Okay, let's find that for you here. Okay, so remembering there are 3 different types. I'll give you the direct mail. I tried a few different things. I'm just having a look here.
I mean, even people that you know, right, that already know you, getting above 50% connection request acceptance rate is a very good number because a lot of people don't really spend time on LinkedIn. So I'm amazed at a 72%. A huge,
Yeah.
I mean, even I think the author of a post who sends up connection requests to people who commented 72% is extraordinary. So I'm finding this amazing.
Yeah. Hi, first name, so it picks up the person's name. I work in strategy execution. We share an interest in strategy implementation and projects. Would you like to connect?
That was it.
That was it. So I tried some more sophisticated stuff. I said, the initial batch that I did, I said, I'm part of, I noticed you commented on Will's or liked Will's post, well, Buckman's post. I'm a big fan of Will's work, and work in the strategy execution space. Let's connect. What I find is that the longer, you know, I did this with a few folks whose work I admire and whose community people who in there are, related. What I find is that the messages are incredibly sensitive to the length. So you can sometimes drop off about a 10% decline reduction in response rates or acceptance rates by just adding 3 words.
So
So
shorter is
short,
better.
really short.
Huh. Okay. Um, so I find that extraordinary that you got 72%. And so 72% of what? Like how many connection requests were sent?
On this one, because I think what I do is I run these campaigns for a while, and then once I've learned and I can see that the acceptance rates aren't what they should be, I'll stop the campaign, move the people over, and then start a new one. So of this one, I sent 291 requests, direct invitations to connect. 210 were accepted, that's the 72%, and 83 replies received.
Wow. Okay.
Mm.
Connection requests. And how many connection requests do you send per day?
It's varied a bit. You allowed 200 a week on LinkedIn, so it just apportions it by day across the week. It usually runs out after, I think I do about 50 a day, and it runs out after 4 days, and then the rest of the week goes quiet.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Yeah, so it does it all for you. Yeah, you just set it up. And you set up basically, it's got a decision tree. So with if-then logic. So you can set it up to If the person's got free email, it can send them an email. There's all Skylead have got all these different types of campaigns as examples that you can use. So a lot of it is, I mean, it's really what's in the message. Yeah, that makes the biggest difference.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So then after people accept, what do you do then? So let's say that they don't respond. Do you then send a proactive message saying, thanks for accepting my connection request. Do you want to get my newsletter, or what do you do then? Or do you just take their email and slam them onto your newsletter? Like, what do you
Yeah.
do after they accept?
Um, well, then I send them, I've experimented with different things, right? So I've sent them some lead magnets, for different folks. And that has varying degrees of acceptance. Let's have a look at this one. So this one, I've got one where, so they get an in-mail, which are those free in-mails, right? And if they don't respond to that, then the system finds and verifies their business email and sends them an email message. So with the email messages, those can be a little bit longer than the DMs in LinkedIn, right? So I've got this, I'll read it to you here. I see you're interested in Will Bachman's project ebook. Will is a former McKinsey colleague of mine and his work is outstanding. I think you and I have common interests. I write regularly about project management and strategy execution. Let's connect and follow each other's work. So that's an example. And then that's an email message. And then I finished it there. They then subscribe to the newsletter. And then, like I said to you, I can carry on with a funnel and send them as many messages and irritate the heck out of them if I wanted to. But I just don't, I don't like being sold to myself. And so I would prefer to have a look at people's things, see if it's valuable, and then if I want to, I'll reach out to them. And so I've been fairly passive in the sense of that the typical funnel.
So I want to clarify. So
But I have subscribed those people. So
yeah.
most of them are happy to be, people have been pretty happy. I've I don't get a large proportion of unsubscribes. So the idea is to just give them lots of value and make it very easy for them to unsubscribe if they want to.
So
Yeah.
you will connect with someone on LinkedIn, and then you grab their email address from the contact, because when your first three connections, you can grab their email.
Yeah.
And then you will just go ahead and you will just subscribe them to your newsletter. So,
Yeah.
so you take action and you add them to your newsletter without their kind of opt in. You let them opt out and unsubscribe, of course, but you're
Correct.
saying, hey, we disconnected. And so the first email that you send them is like, hey, we just connected on LinkedIn. Thanks.
Exactly.
Both follow Will
Yeah.
Bachman.
This is what you're going to get every week. This is an example of a recent email a recent newsletter that's gone out. If you don't want to receive it, just click here.
Okay, so you'll email them and just add them.
That's it. They just get and that's not come from the Skylead funnel. That's come from my own CRM immediately when people, and they get the same thing as if anybody sets up an appointment with me, if they download any lead magnets, the minute anybody comes into my world, they go straight onto the newsletter.
They get onto the newsletter. Okay.
Mm.
So, and mechanically, how does that work? So you connect with someone on LinkedIn, and then what is the tool that then goes and like grabs their email address and puts it into your CRM? Is that the Skylead system?
It's a integration with Skylead via Make. That one is make.io. So
Make
there's
that.
two main platforms for process automation for small to medium businesses that I've come across that are, So either Zapier or make.io. Yeah. And
So,
I use a combination because Make's pretty inexpensive. I don't even think I'm paying for it. So you have to really hit a really high threshold to start paying for it. Remembering you've only got 200 LinkedIn a week.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that can actually go to someone new that you connected with. It can go grab their email address and put it into your newsletter system. What newsletter system are you using?
Okay.
MailChimp,
So
Kit, or
no, no. Skylead is actually the intelligence software that pulls all the information from LinkedIn.
oh, I see.
And then Make is just the connector that maps the fields
Oh,
from LinkedIn to the CRM.
okay.
And the CRM that I use is that 7-in-1 platform that I mentioned, which is Techmatics. So Techmatics does the newsletter, uh, it does everything. It does almost everything that Skylead doesn't do. So Techmatics does, yeah, all those things I mentioned. The newsletter, the education platform, the monetization of it, the automatic workflow, with anything to do with the leads, calendar invites. So it's like a Calendly as well. And that one's only 99 US dollars a month, Techmatics for all of that in US. And Skylead, I think, is also 99 US dollars, something like that. It's not hugely expensive.
Um, so with Skylead, you can send connection requests, you can have it send in-mails on your behalf, and you can send, including the free in-mails, right?
Else?
So
Yeah, and paid ones. It'll do both. Yeah,
it'll do the both. The
yeah.
the paid ones, like you get a certain quantity of in-mails, right, for your LinkedIn subscription. Is that what you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I'm on a premium and I get like 15 a month.
Yeah.
So use all of those up
Yeah.
if you wanted to. You just set it up. I use those and then it'll use the free ones first. And then if they're all used up, then it'll free. Yeah, I can't remember. There's free and there's paid, and it has some kind of algorithm between the two.
Hmm. Okay. Any any sort of tips or lessons learned on using that Skylead system, like making like setting up some guardrails so that it doesn't send that message to certain people who are actual like people that are who are like friends or whatever, or like current clients or something, just to avoid, sort of sending that more generic message to people who are like or maybe already subscribe with a different email, or people who you already know, or uh
Okay, well,
any
that's pretty easy to set up. So they've thought of all of that. So
uh,
you can, when you set up your campaign, you can decide. So if I'm only doing a campaign to somebody's post, I'll only look at people that have never been through that I'm not connected with at the moment, and that I don't have they don't have in any other dormant campaign. So they've never been contacted before
hmm,
by me. So that's pretty easy. Um, Trying to think what else. There's a nice part that you can do where you can actually do direct messages to people
hmm,
uh, that you have that you connected with.
yeah,
So, for example, while we're recording this, we know that in a 5 weeks' time, we're doing a strategy panel together.
right,
So I'm promoting that panel, and what I'm doing is I've pulled out folks that have got my connections who have the word strategy in their job title. And every day I send out a specified number of messages to those folks to invite them to come along to the panel. So that'll just go out automatically. So those folks I'm happy to send to my first degree contacts, even if they're friends.
hmm, oh,
May
okay,
be interested, Will, you may be interested in this, and then just the insertion
okay, all
of
right.
the link. Yeah.
So that will go out, so you can send that out, and you can program it to go out automatically to anybody who fits certain criteria.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool.
Do you do
um
that? Do you do stuff
no, no, I don't.
like that? Okay.
No. Um,
But you do use an automated tool, don't you?
No, I don't use any automated tool. All
So when I see the thousands of people that request your material and you ask them to DM a word to you, what do you do with that word that goes into the DMs?
I just respond in the messages.
Personally,
Yeah. So
right.
no, it's all human. It's all human behind the scenes. Um,
You've
so
got 70,000 followers. You
yeah,
have thousands of requests for material every week,
yeah, yeah.
right?
It's like a lot of, a lot of behind the scenes just replying. The codes I put in there are to help differentiate because sometimes people say, "Oh, give me the resource," and I've posted about like 3 or 4 different resources. So, asking people to specify a code, then you can, know which one they're asking for. But yeah, I haven't done the automated thing because I've just been concerned that there are that LinkedIn will slap you on the wrist or maybe even ban your account if they detect that you're using these automated tools. So that's been kind of my concern around that stuff. Is
So
that
yeah, sorry to
no, go
jump.
ahead. So
Yes.
how do you navigate that?
So you set up parameters of how many of everything, of every type you want to go out every day
Hmm,
and
okay.
what the range would be. Yeah.
Hmm, all
Yeah.
right. Amazing. Well, why don't we list a call to action here, Lisa, for people that are interested in getting on your newsletter or exploring your membership community and want to check out, the website, where would you point them online?
Well, by the time your podcast is live, the turbochargers.com should be up and running, but we'll still have my futurebuildersgroup.com URL will stay there as well for my consulting group work. And people will find me on there.
So futurebuildersgroup.com/turbocharge, one word. I'm on that page right now, and there's the join now button. I don't see if people just want to sign up for the newsletter, where do people?
It's on our resource page.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Or they
see.
can just go to my LinkedIn and it's at the top of my LinkedIn profile as well, just my blog. And
Okay.
they can click
So
on that too.
So
Yeah.
futurebuildersgroup.com resources/resources. Subscribe to Turbocharge Weekly for tips on strategy execution. Direct your inbox. Okay. So we'll include that link in the show notes as well. Lisa, it was great speaking with you. And thank you for sharing all these behind the scenes tips.
My pleasure, Will. Thanks for having me.